Hello, you're watching Injury Care with Dr. Ma. My name is Dr. Ma. I've been a chiropractor for the past 20 years and have treated thousands of car accident injury patients. Now, during those 20 years, I gained a lot of clinical and non-clinical knowledge, and sometimes patients have asked me, after they start feeling a little bit better, Dr. Ma, how much do you think my case claim is worth for my car accident injury? Legitimate question, especially if you've been injured by somebody else's fault. Now, nobody can tell you for sure exactly what your case claim is worth until the settlement is done, but there are factors that's integral in every case that actually comes into play that determine the settlement value of your car accident injury case. I'm gonna go over these three factors today, but please be aware that this is not an expert opinion, but just general information for your knowledge. I think you'll find it helpful though. The first factor is liability. Liability means the determination of fault. So why is that important? If you're entitled to $10,000 for compensation for your injuries, and if your liability is 100%, then you get zero compensation. But if your liability is zero, then you get the entire $10,000. And if your liability is 50%, then you get $5,000. So let's take this scenario. You are sitting at a red light in a traffic, and then your car is rear-ended by another vehicle. Then you are 0% liable, and you're gonna be compensated for the full amount that you're entitled to. But if you're in an accident at an always stop sign and police report says that you guys both are equally at fault, then you get 50% liability and the other driver gets 50% liability. So then you're entitled to 50% of the compensation. So usually the liability is determined by insurance companies and they use a police report. So if you think you are being held liable for an accident that you did not cause, then it is important for you to retain an attorney as soon as possible so they can do an investigation and establish correct liability. The second factor is bodily injury policy. Bodily injury policy is the insurance policy that pays out compensation to car accident injury victims. Now, this is important because there are actually limits to bodily injury policies. And it's the driver who caused the accidents, his or her bodily injury policy that is going to pay compensation for your injuries. Now, imagine this scenario. You're involved in a car accident and your injuries are determined to be worth $20,000. And in New York State, the average bodily injury policies are $50,000. So in this case, there's no problem because there's $50,000 to cover your $20,000 worth of injuries. But what if your injuries were really severe and your injuries worth $100,000? Now, the average policy in New York State being $50,000, you don't have the extra $50,000 from the driver's bodily injury policy to compensate you fully. And the only way you can get that in New York State is to go after the personal assets of the other driver, which is very difficult. So in order to protect yourself in this kind of situation, it's wise to purchase extra umbrella coverage under your own policy. And the umbrella coverage will cover you in cases like this. The third factor is injury and treatment. As expected, the more severe the injury, the greater the compensation. And the more extensive and more invasive treatment you get, the greater compensation also. So if you get a fracture, more likely you get more compensation. If you get, say 10 physical therapy visits compared to 50 physical therapy visits, more likely to get greater compensation. And more invasive treatment you get, say something like surgery or injection, then you're more likely to get higher compensation. So as you can see, in order for you to get a very high car accident injury case claim settlement, you need to be not at fault, get struck by a vehicle that has very high bodily injury policy limit, and you need to be severely injured and undergo some kind of invasive treatment. So this is almost like lottery with a twist. And most people who've gotten a lot of a high injury claim settlement will let you know that it's just not worth it because these people will have most likely lifelong pain and suffering and some kind of disability. But hopefully that is not your case. But if you're recently involved in a car accident and looking for a therapy clinic in Queens, New York area, please consider us. We have a great office, a lot of nice staff, and modern treatment equipment, and we even take care of your paperwork properly. My name is Dr. Ma. I hope you feel better and have a great day.